Hey guys, how's it going? It's the holly jolly season, and what better way to celebrate than with trivia? From its humble origins as a pagan holiday to the patron saint of thieves turned Coca-Cola mascot, the appeal of Christmas is an international one. Despite its name, many people who celebrate are not Christian, but won't pass up an excuse to see family and friends. And of course, once the original meaning is muddled, people around the globe fill it in with whatever seems fun and festive instead. So, take my hand as I show you some of the more unusual Christmas traditions from around the world, but mostly Europe. For the sake of you actually learning something from this video, I'm going to be passing over the more well-known weird traditions, like Japan's KFC and Christmas cake thing. You already know that, but did you know that in Catalonia they have a Yule log? Not that kind of Yule log, this kind of Yule log. This is Tio de Nadal, or the Christmas log. On the surface, it appears innocent enough. It's a cartoon face on a log. Every day starting on the 8th of December, children of the household feed the log and cover him in a blanket so he doesn't get cold. How you feed a log looks something like this. You do this every day until Christmas. It is of the utmost importance that you take care of the log until that day. Once Christmas comes around and your log is nice, full, and happy, you put it near the fire and then you jump that little freeloader with sticks. Yes, the tradition is that you smack the splinters out of the sorry sapling so it shits surprises. The act of hitting the log with sticks causes the log to defecate presents for the children. There's even a traditional song to go along with this tradition that according to Wikipedia translates to as follows. Shit log, hazelnuts and nougats. Do not shit herrings, they are too salty. Shit nougats, they taste better. Shit log, almonds and nougats, and if you don't want to shit, I will hit you with a stick. Shit log, which I imagine that you do until your schizo episode subsides. In actuality, a parent or relative has stored hopefully non-fragile gifts underneath the log's blanket, the aforementioned almonds and nougats, and after every verse of shit log and a good whack, they give a treat to the kids. Now we're not moving away from Catalonia or defecating just yet. This is a caganer. It's a man answering the call of nature. Now, you're asking yourself right now, Klidge, what does this man taking a shit have to do with Christmas? To which I answer, everything. So a Christmas tradition done the world over by practicing Christians is to display the nativity scene during Christmas time. For the non-Christians in the audience, this is the scene of Jesus Christ being born in the manger. Staples for this scene are generally baby Jesus, Mary, Joseph, the three wise men, an angel, and some farm animals like sheep and donkeys. Catalonia and the surrounding areas took this to the next level by making their nativity scene a full-on recreation of the entire town of Bethlehem and its residents, with the manger being the central and most important aspect. Oftentimes, this scene would include a figure of a woman washing clothes, shepherds tending to their flocks, women weaving, and so on. But sometime around the 17th or 18th century, someone decided to add a man pulling down his pants to make a Christmas log. For that, I respect the historical accuracy of knowing that someone was making bears while Christ the Lord was born. This addition, which one would imagine would have marked the scene maker a heretic, was actually immediately loved and popularized. In fact, in these parts of the world, it is believed to be the most popular part of the nativity scene. Not the Son of God, but the squatting squire. In fact, his addition to the nativity is only half the tradition. The other half is the game of Where's Waldo that the kids get to play, trying to find him once the nativity is done. The most beautiful thing about this, though, is that it's not always an anonymous Adam defecating. As is the tradition of humans, we love knocking down the mighty and powerful. And what better way to do that than by making them the solemn squatter? That's right, celebrities, cartoon characters, political figures, you name it, they got it turtling somewhere in Catalonia. And this is a well-protected tradition too. In 2005 in Barcelona, the city's nativity scene did not include one because they had banned public defecation and believed the caganer would be setting a bad example. In response, the city effectively imploded in on itself, with citizens publicly criticizing the city and demanding its installment. People went through all 5 stages of grief dealing with the loss of their favorite flatulator, and as a result, it would be reinstated the following year. Alright, enough shit talking. Now we're on to a somewhat well-known tradition, and I use tradition lightly here. The Yule goat. If you could believe it, goats are tied fairly closely to Christmas in the historical sense. Goats were a part of the original Christmas before it was truly Romanized, as they were sacrificed to assure a harvest of plenty. In fact, the horn of plenty, the cornucopia, is modeled after a goat's horn and is why the Capricorn has the corn part in its name. As such, making these sacrifices allowed for the power of the goat's horn to proliferate. But we're not here to talk about that. I'm more interested in telling you about the Gävle goat. In 1966 in Sweden, a man named Stig Gävle wanted to do something special for the country. He financed and had a massive wooden Yule goat erected. A Yule goat design is something like this, and is a common decoration for Scandinavian Christmas. They are normally about palm size and made of light wood. This one though weighed 3 tons and was 13 meters tall and 7 meters long. It stood for the whole of Christmas and some days after, but on New Year's Eve a man burnt it to the ground. Thankfully, they had goat insurance and got their money back, but this ignited a tradition that has followed it to this day. In subsequent years, the goat has been the target of several different attacks, with security being forced to tighten up accordingly. Actually, something worth mentioning is that after 1986, two different groups were building Yule goats. The Southern Merchants group builds the larger one, and then the Natural Science Club builds a smaller one. I'm going to say this right now, that I do not advocate for the burning down of the goat, but seeing the list of years it survived and how it was destroyed otherwise is hilarious. So let's go through and list the highlights of how this goat was destroyed up until last year. In 1970, just 6 hours after the goat's construction has been completed, two drunken teenagers set it on fire. It would be hastily reassembled with lake reeds. The next year in 1971, the Southern Merchants Guild did not build a goat out of frustration of it being burnt down. So, to fill the niche, school children from the Natural Science Club made a miniature version of it. This one was smashed to pieces. I couldn't find how it was smashed to pieces, it just says smashed to pieces. Note that up until 1986, the goat is smaller because it is made by the Natural Science Club. In 1973, the goat was stolen by a man who placed it in his backyard. He was promptly arrested. In 1976, a student rammed into it in their Volvo Amazon. In 1978, it was kicked to pieces by vandals. In 1988, gambling involving the fate of the goat became sanctioned. It survived that year. In 1992, both goats were burnt down in early December. On the 20th, the Southern Merchants made another goat and it was immediately burnt down. This marked the foundation of the Goat Committee. In 1997, the goat was hit with fireworks but survived. In 2000, the goat was burnt down and the one belonging to the Natural Science Club was thrown into the river. In 2001, a tourist from Cleveland, Ohio burnt down the goat under the belief that it was a legal tradition. It wasn't, and he was arrested. In 2005, two vandals dressed as Santa Claus and the Gingerbread Man shot flaming arrows at the goat in a successful attempt to burn it down. In 2008, a member of the Goat Committee decided that the brown fireproofing used on the goat made it ugly, and so they opted to not use it that year. The goat would be lit on fire shortly after, extinguished, and then lit on fire again. The following year, an organized DOS attack shut down security cameras around the goat, which permitted vandals to burn it down. In 2010, a guard was paid off and the goat was stolen via helicopter and taken to Stockholm. The goat survived the ordeal. Finally, and most recently, in 2001, a drunken man jumped the fence and burnt the goat to the ground, breaking a streak of 4 successful years of goat survival. As of right now, the goat is standing and can be watched live on stream, which I will link down below. So, one tradition that has gained a following in the West thanks to content creators such as Jesse Cox and the Drawfee channel is the Icelandic tradition of the Yule lads. Let's start this off with one of my favorite historical facts that may give some context as to why this belief is around. In 1998, an Icelandic survey showed that 54% of the people in the country believed in the existence of elves or fairies. In specific, this belief was more of a, we're not saying they don't exist, rather than saying that they fully believe that they are there. But let that sink in for a minute. In 1998, the majority of people in Iceland believed in the supernatural. That is the same year that Ocarina of Time came out. Now, I haven't found a recent survey saying if this is still the case or not, but that is still a fascinating statistic. The Yule lads themselves fall into this category. They are the children of a pair of trolls first accounted for in Icelandic poems. The central figure of this poem is the mother Grilla, who kidnaps and eats children. Her husband is an equally monstrous troll named Lapuldi, who is less of a threat because he's lazy and hangs out in his cave. Like any good family, they have a pet called the Yule cat who stalks the countryside and streets looking for people who are wearing old clothes and eating them. Then finally, we get to the lads themselves. These are the sons of Grilla. These mischievous scamps who are definitely not folkloric woodwolves appear in order in the days leading up to Christmas. Each has their own thing that they do to harass people and a name to go along with it accordingly. So, let's start from the top. On the 12th of September, the first of the lads arrives. Stekjarster, or sheep coat clod. Coat in this context likely meaning by one side, not the apparel. In other words, the clod beside the sheep. As his name implies, he harasses sheep, but has trouble doing so because he has 2 peg legs. Giljager, or Goldie-Gok, waits in gullies for an opportune time to steal milk from sheds. Stuffer, or Stubby, is abnormally short, allowing him to break into homes where he steals pans from which he eats off the crusts. Tvorusleikir, or Spoon Licker, steals spoons so that he can lick them. This has caused him to become incredibly skinny because of malnutrition. Pottaskeffel, or Pot Scraper, scrapes the leftovers in pots. Askasleikir, or Bowl Licker, steals a type of bowl called an Oscar, which has a lid. He waits under beds to snap them up and steal them away. Herdeskeller, or Door Slammer, sucks on people's fingers while they're sleeping. I lied, he slams doors in the middle of the night. Skiergammer, or Skier Gobbler, is a yogurt addict that will deplete the whole stocks of a family's skier. Bjugnakraker, or Sausage Swiper, hides in the rafters of a home to try and steal sausages tied up there. Glugagagagir, or Window Peeper, can be seen looking into people's windows trying to find things to steal. Whether he actually does steal things is up in the air, but he's certainly looking. Gatefjeffer, or Doorway Sniffer, has an unusually large nose which he uses to sniff out Lofthrald, or leaf bread. Ketkroker, or meat hook, uses a hook to steal meat. Whether he steals sausages from Sausage Swiper is to be seen. Finally, we have Kertasneaker, or Candle Stealer, who stalks children and steals their candles so he can eat them. Each one stays for 13 nights before eventually returning home. So, on the night of Christmas Eve, it's possible to have an encounter by all 13 lads at once. Originally, they would steal children away and either eat them or feed them to their mother, but nowadays if good boys and girls leave their shoes out, it's possible a nasty trollman will leave you a sweet. As one may imagine, food is one of those things that makes the Christmas season what it really is, and every country has a different take on what to eat for the holidays. No, I'm still not going to talk about KFC. Let's start with a Greenland traditional food called kivyak. This is a meal consisting of up to 500 birds called little auks that are stuffed into a seal, sealed with seal fat, and then buried for 3 months and made to ferment. And made to ferment in there until the winter season, where it is then eaten for celebrations, Christmas included. It should be noted that these birds are preserved whole, meaning that feathers and beaks are included. This process is a pretty tricky one because using the wrong type of bird can be fatal, as well as the method of preservation demanding perfection, lest you give your partygoers botulism. So from Greenland, we're going to move on to South Africa. South Africa is the home of the emperor moth, also known as the Christmas moth. This may be due to the fact that they occasionally have the Yuletide coloration of red and green, but is more likely because the caterpillars are harvested around this time, where they are then battered and fried as a local delicacy. I am of the don't knock it till you try it mindset, so maybe they're onto something. I personally prefer my red cabbage and cognac. So those are some of the most unusual Christmas traditions from around the world. I left out my own personal favorite tradition, Merry Lud, which I may do a separate video on some other time. For now though, if you have any traditions unique to your country or even your area, let me know down below. Do the YouTube stuff to spread the holiday cheer, and check my links to find my holly jolly self across the internet. For now though, whatever you're celebrating, have a Merry Klidgemas. Peace.